The first thing to notice about number 2 is that it is a number 2. Sense the difficulty here. The story might be a little confusing, but remember, this is the second question in the no calculator section. This is supposed to be an easy question, so that probably is a hint that you're overthinking it if you think it's too hard. And also, looking at the answer choices can really help us get on the right track here. These are all equations. We have one variable, but it doesn't have any exponents, so that probably means we're dealing with a line. And if we know that we're dealing with a line, we should always think in terms of y equals mx plus b. And when we have a story, y equals mx plus b takes on kind of new roles. The b part, the y-intercept, is now going to be more like a starting point, right? It's where the x term is equal to 0, where the graph starts, because it's a story, it doesn't really have negatives, so it starts on the y-axis most of the time. So a starting point is our y-intercept, and they're pretty clear that when they say initial payment of $60, that's going to be a y-intercept. Also, when we have a slope, which is the m part, that's going to be something like a rate or some sort of increase or decrease. And so we need to see if there's something like that in the story, and sure enough, weekly payments of $30, right? $30 per week sounds a lot like a rate, so that's going to be our slope, meaning that we're going to get something like 30, in this case, W plus 60. And so that's a choice right here, 30W plus 60 in choice C. It might be a little confusing as to where that 300 comes from, but that's the only other thing in the question here, and that's kind of like our final price that we pay. So what we're always trying to see is how this relates to the 300 that we're trying to get up to over time. So that part's a little different from what we're used to, but the stuff that's the same is so helpful that this different thing doesn't really matter. And like I said, sense the difficulty here. It's a number 2. The differences are minor. The difficulty is really just not a part of this. It should be very straightforward. If it appears difficult, it's more about just the question confusing you than it is the actual math being difficult. Trust the question number.